Let's set up my shares really quickly. 1 minute, guys. I hope all is well with you. Today, we're going to be talking about more into the space of hormones, and we're going to be discussing how our warning has already been here. It's already arrived, and it's been giving us signs to let us know that the time to shift is now, or we're going to pay. And you think that in your later years in life that that's just a part of getting older, that diseases, illnesses, etc. is a part of what is going to happen to the body. But what you're not realizing is that more and more things are shifting when it comes to our food industry, our healthcare, medical care, job protection, all the different things that we had security in before are no longer there. And our system, and our food system specifically, is not getting any better. And so we're going to have to step up to the plate and put our health on the front line instead of the back burner, because we're going to be seeing more people get sick. We're going to be seeing more people not being able to afford care. We're going to see more people that are going to have issues of getting sick from meat and dairy and processed snacks, prescriptions, because they have stopped regulating majority of the foods that were used to be regulated. Majority of prescriptions, medications, and other things that used to be protected, that used to be safe for you to take, safer for you to take. Now you are going to be seeing more people that are going to end up in the hospital from meat. There are going to be people that end up in the hospital from taking their regular prescriptions that they've normally been taking. And this is because all of the laws that have been passed to let people go in these very important jobs that are supposed to keep people safe, under food regulations, under prescription regulations, they've been let go from their jobs, and they're continuously letting go, cutting funding, and also telling them that, hey, you don't have to focus on this anymore. So at what point do they choose which prescriptions are the ones that you need to focus on? Because when they decide that they're no longer going to focus on your diabetes medication, they're no longer going to focus on you having protection over your insulin, what are you supposed to do about that for people who are diabetic? Because people aren't thinking of it that way when things get way too expensive, like they already are. So let's say that now they're telling you, in order for you to have your birth control, that you have to pay $100 out of pocket every single week. And that's just for a week worth of birth control. And then on top of that, they're telling you, well, it might be tainted with other things. You don't even know what's inside of your birth control anymore because we're not regulating it. Because that's not a big deal. Now you're having the risk of some type of contamination, which can make you sick. It can literally unalive you. And you're also having to pay tons of money out of pocket. And then there's going to be many women who are dealing with the issue of either they don't want to have kids, but now they're stuck in this space where they can't afford their birth control. So they're hoping and guessing. Or they're going to start doing drastic measures like a hysterectomy because they don't want to have children. Or these women are dealing with hormonal imbalances, so they're using birth control to help balance that. And now they're sitting there stuck because they're like, well, I can't afford this to help balance my hormones. There's no way for me to balance my hormones. This is just my body and how my life is going to be. When you don't have to be stuck in that space of thinking that your hormone imbalance is something that you have to deal with as a woman because you are a woman. But hormonal imbalances are a sign from your body to let you know that you have not dealt with the root cause of your issue, and you're feeding your body crap, which is throwing off your body's regulation, which is causing an imbalance. And so you have to figure out what is throwing off my body and causing an imbalance. One of those things, birth control. Another one of those things, food. Because y'all don't understand how when you are put on a prescription and they tell you that you should take something, does not mean that you don't go research what is in that. Because you're sitting there not doing any research, and then you've been taking it for 6 months, and then all of a sudden now you're having issues with your liver. Now you're having issues with your gut or your digestive tract in general. And you didn't look at the fine print to see the fact that the prescription that you're on causes dysregulation inside the gut. You didn't do any research to realize that it throws off the liver. And so then now you have the issue that you came in with, that you were taking the prescription for, and then now you have a new issue that has been sparked by the prescription. This is the same process and cycle that they use with everybody when it comes to the healthcare system. They keep you circulated with a new problem so that you have to keep coming back. And we're watching it unfold in real time, and it's getting worse when it comes to people who are in the hospital over tainted meat that they didn't know that it was toxic, because a lot of people are not understanding how toxic the meat is nowadays in America. A lot of people are not understanding how toxic the meat is nowadays in America. A lot of people are not understanding how toxic the meat is nowadays in America. A lot of people are not understanding how toxic the meat is nowadays in America. A lot of people are not understanding how toxic the meat is nowadays in America. Their recalls are slowing down. There's fewer and fewer recalls. And it's not because that they're getting better at regulating the food, but because they're telling them you don't have to push out all these recalls. It's okay. It's fine. Because it's literally what they're telling these people who find that there's contamination in food. They're telling them you don't have to post their recall. It's okay. It's fine. It's not that big of a deal. That's not on the list of things that we have to report. Thank you for the likes. Pharmacists are speaking out about this contamination issue that they're having when it comes to prescriptions specifically. And recalls, they're speaking out. Pharmacists who have been let go, people who worked in the FDA, all of these people are speaking out about the fact that they are lessening protocols in every aspect to cut corners. And that's not a joke. That is dangerous. Think about just like how, let's say you're a bus driver and you know a bus has to stop at a railroad. Every single railroad they're supposed to stop. But the bus driver decides today's not the day because I'm 15 minutes late. And so they zoom past the railroad. Is that safe? The bus shuts down right on top of the railroad. Because that's what can happen. When you're not doing the protocols that were set in place for a reason, you put everybody's life in danger. So do you want to keep trusting in a system that is okay with putting your life in danger and everybody else that it's supposed to care for? Or do you want to sit back and protect yourself the best way that you can, which is to stop being a non-knowing consumer? Or would you rather turn into the person who understands what is going on, realizes what's happening, and starts to shift into the space that is going to support you in being safe? Because that's the key. A lot of y'all don't have safety within yourself, so you don't realize when you're in an unsafe situation. We are in an unsafe situation right now, a very unsafe situation. And how you release yourself from that unsafe situation isn't just running and moving to a new country. You removing yourself from this unsafe situation isn't you just putting your blinders on and hoping everything fixes itself in the next couple of years. It's you understanding that food should be used as medicine, and you're going to have to start eating real whole foods from the earth. You have to stop buying into companies that are poisoning you. You have to stop eating these fast food places and restaurants that are chain restaurants and chain fast food places that have tainted meat. You have to stop consuming dairy. And you have to start reading your labels and understanding what's on these labels and actually dissecting what these labels mean. Because you reading it and seeing that it says citric acid does not guarantee that it's real citrus from fruits. This is how you get in the space of what is dangerous. Because the odds are against you. The system is against you. And so it's either you're going to sit here and have your blinders on and be asleep, or this is going to be your wake-up call to realize that you don't want to be sick, you don't want to have to deal with a diagnosis, and it's not too late to start actually fighting against what's going on. But you have to stop believing that a illness or a diagnosis is all you have to deal with, and that's it, the end. Because you have to reverse what is going on in order for you to get away from the space of the diagnosis. So if you are ready to start shifting your healthy habits, you have to get in the space of prevention. And if you are already in the space of being diagnosed, then you have to get to the root cause so that you can get into the space of reversal. Because for the people who believe that illness and disease really happens when you're older, it happens when you get older, statistics are telling differently. I know that all the things that they're telling you on the news and Medicare and Medicaid and all the different things that they're telling you on commercials say that when you get older, you get so sick and it's just out of nowhere and you don't want it to hit you like a truck. But statistics are saying differently. They're seeing children, teens, young adults get diagnosed way more than they ever have when it comes to being insulin resistant or diabetes. And they're seeing that young adults and teens are going to surpass adults on the statistics scale when it comes to people being diagnosed with insulin resistance or diabetes. When it used to be when you became an adult, it was more likely for you to develop these things. But now they're seeing it happen in young adults and teens. So what is the difference between how you're supposed to get older in order for you to get diseases and illnesses versus now they're saying that teens and young adults are about to surpass the adults on that scale? Because everybody has the same eating habits. Everybody does the same pattern. And it's not getting any better, but because they keep adding in all this tainted food. And it won't get any better. And the people who think that it's okay and that you can make it by just by managing. The stress is overwhelming you already. Majority of society is tired. A lot of y'all are anxious and depressed. A lot of people are on antidepressants and y'all don't even know this. So can you only imagine when they can't afford their antidepressant, they can't afford their therapist, when all these people are going crazy because of the food, because food will literally drive you crazy if you're not eating nutrients. And then on top of that, let's say that we have another reoccurrence of 2020 where now they're isolating people again. They really are isolating people, because think about how they're detaining people. Like, really sit back and think about it. They're playing a mental game on everybody's top, and the only difference between the people who are having their blinders and the people that are actually seeing the stuff and dealing with it is you releasing yourself from the societal system of what they have programmed you to believe is safe and normal. Because this stuff that we're going through is not normal, and it's making your body not be able to trust you when you stay in the space of believing that they have your best interest at heart. That makes your nervous system go haywire. When you eat terrible toxic foods, when you don't deal with your stress correctly, all of these make your nervous system not be able to trust you, which puts you in fight or flight mode. And so you have to think about the internal system that is under attack when you are in the space of eating ultra processed foods, tainted meats. You're eating all of this granulated sugar, highly processed sugar. You're having contaminated meds in your life. And then you have toxic habits, terrible coping mechanisms. You eat for your emotions. You have all these issues of you don't work out. Maybe you go to the gym maybe once or twice a year, or maybe you work out regularly, but then you binge eat. These are habits that throw your hormones off, and they make your system not be able to trust you. Thank you for the follows and the likes, guys. I really appreciate it. You have to connect the dots of what is happening inside of your body and what's happening to your organ system. I know that I'm not going to be here as long as I usually do. I have to take my dogs to the vet. So we have about 20-ish, no, less than 20, probably about like 15 at most minutes left. So if you guys have any questions, please drop your questions down. I will take any questions that you have, but I want you to understand what is happening inside of your internal system and how it's impacting your organs, and connecting the dots of how these habits are connected to your organs having dysfunction. Because it's not just a theory, it's not a question, it's not a, oh, this is what a observation. This is actual scientific fact of what is happening and how your body is breaking down when you don't support the system. Because your liver is your detoxification. This is your filter place. And so every toxin, every additive that's in your food, every hormone disrupting food that you eat, it hits the liver first. When your body cannot digest, when your gut is thrown off, when your pH is not right, and your liver cannot digest properly. And so, when your gut cannot digest properly, your liver is left with the remnants and the leftovers that your gut is having to release, that is not holding on to. Because I'm going to get into why the gut holds on to things next. But I want you to understand how the liver is working overtime. And so the liver is working overtime because it cannot fully clear itself out. A lot of people drink alcohol and you don't realize how the alcohol affects your liver. And then on top of that, if you have issues, hi, welcome in. When you have issues of the fact that you eat these additives in your food, thank you for the follow. When you have the issue of your hormones are dysregulated, when you have the issue of your body being overworked all the time, and then you sit down and you decide that you're going to drink alcohol because you've had a stressful week, and that even includes wines, because a lot of y'all don't realize that wine, a lot of wine products are, and alcohol in general, tequilas, vodkas, all the hard stuff, and all the way down to the wine, has meat products in it. There's a reason why there's vegan wines, because there's meat products in it. And I just talked about how meat is tainted. And so you're making your body have to work in a non-hydrated, lacking oxygen state, because when you drink alcohol, this removes the hydration from your cells. So when it removes the hydration from your cells and the liver is not able to detoxify, the gut is overwhelmed, the digestive tract is going to be backed up. So think about how after you drink a bunch of alcohol, that night you've been eating a whole bunch, and then the next day your stomach is so upset. It's not just because you ate a whole bunch and you drank alcohol, but it's the fact that what the alcohol did to your body, there's now making your digestive tract finally have to catch up when you finally woke up and got some water, and then now you're on the toilet and you're like, oh, my stomach is just really hurting. Or let's say you don't drink any water at all, so you're sitting there constipated. Because these are problems. These are problems that people have consistently. I don't know who this day and age who's really drinking consistently. I don't have any really party friends. When I was in college, that was a different story. But from what I have realized, from people coming in here and, asking me, haven't really worked with any clients that are big drinkers, but I have had people who come in here and ask about drinking, and I tell them all the time, I'm not perfect. I have a drink sometimes. Like, it is what it is. I make sure I get a vegan product. I make sure that it's not too high in sugar. I make sure I cover my bases, and I drink my water. I'm not getting drunk, but I'm sitting here enjoying a drink. And that is because, as a person who knows that they're not perfect, I don't restrict everything from my life. If I want to drink, I'm going to get a drink. But what I do understand is cellular hydration and cellular oxygenation. And how you get that is from eating real whole foods that give you that on a cellular level. You can't sit here and just sip water all day and get enough hydration and oxygen on a cellular level, because the hydration that your cells need, it comes from fruits. So when you're not eating these things, this is going to cause your liver to not be able to detoxify. And this is also going to cause your gut pH to not be where it needs to be. Because you need stabilizers for your gut pH, which isn't just you eating fruits and vegetables, but it's you understanding how fermentation affects the gut. And when you're sitting here dealing with a gut that doesn't have a pH that's high enough, it throws off your brain, because your gut and your brain are directly connected. And so things that you eat, like antibiotics in your meat, because it says antibiotic free does not mean that that animal is not pumped up with something. Because how is the animal going to stay illness free? How is the meat going to be completely parasite free? And all these other things that they market to you without some type of prescription or antibiotic. Because it's not possible. Because they don't feed the animals fruits. Like, you get fruits so that way when you do have an infection and you're not even thinking about it, but your body is craving pineapple, for example. Because when your body's craving that pineapple out of nowhere, it's usually because you have a parasitic infection. And it's gotten so bad to the point where your body is now craving pineapple to try to get rid of the acidic infection. And a lot of people aren't realizing, and my mother is one of these people too, and I try to get it through her brain, but she doesn't realize it because she's a part of an older generation. She doesn't think like that. She thinks that she's allergic to pineapple. But what I try to get in her brain without saying it in the kindest way is that when you have an overload of parasites and you have a bunch of infections going on inside of your body, you're going to have the allergic reaction to pineapple like people do. Not the, oh my God, my face is swelling up and I have to go to the hospital, but I'm kind of breaking out in hives. I'm itching in the mouth. It's all the citrus. No, it's the parasitic infections that are inside of your body that are reacting to the high acidity that is getting rid of all the damage that you've done. A lot of people don't realize that. And the realization comes from when you actually start to eat the foods that your body needs and you see how it reacts to certain foods versus how other people's bodies react to certain foods. You start to understand what they're eating and what throws them off. I know my parents, nobody in my family is plant-based. I'm the only one in my family that is plant-based. Nobody is plant-based. So when I bring up the fact, or when I see people doing like a fruit cleanse or a juice cleanse or something, and then I bring up the fact that like, oh, I do this X, Y, and Z so that I can sustain it. They're like, oh yeah, I'm only doing this for like a week or two, etc., etc. They eat all the fruits that, for instance, my mother she can eat pineapple, but it's only to a certain extent. But when she's doing some type of fast or a cleanse, she can eat more pineapple than normal. And so then when I bring it back up, well, how come it only flares up at certain times? Oh, well, I'm just kind of allergic to it. I think that it just makes my mouth numb. All these different things that she says because that's what her doctor has told her. But the doctor is not put here for you, not designed, because the Most High designed them for different paths. Or I can't say that, excuse me, let me rephrase that. The Most High designed them to do what they do. But the programming that they're under, the program has not taught them to help you be able to identify the problem, get to the root, and then reverse what's going on. The programming that they're under, thank you for the shares and the follows, guys. The programming that they're under has been designed for them to be diagnosing you and then giving you some type of solution that keeps you in the circle of continuously having to depend on them. Because if you were somebody who was dealing with insulin resistance, you went to the doctor about it, and then they gave you an action plan for you to be able to get rid of it and reverse it, You wouldn't have to come back for them for insulin in 5 years. You wouldn't have to be on insulin for the next 40 years of your life. Think about that long-term customer that they would be getting rid of if they help you start reversing the issues that you have. But it's somebody who helps people be able to reverse the issues that they have and prides themselves on being able to do that, because it's all the matter of understanding what inflammation is going on, understanding what the symptoms mean, and getting to the root cause of these symptoms, and then getting to the space of treating them. I don't want long-term customers that keep coming back for the same issues. I don't want people who have new issues spark because now we're sitting here dealing with the one disease and then we've somehow affected something else and now we have two diseases to deal with. I want people who are on the space of, I want to be able to reverse this, and I know that I need to reverse this before it becomes something detrimental. And if you are in the space of where it's cancer or anything like that, don't think that there is no help for you. But you have to be ready to actually have an action plan in place, a strategy that you're going to follow. Not just sit here and assume that, okay, well, it's never going to be reversed. It's never going to get rid of. So I'm going to have to take this prescription for the rest of my life. Because when you have that mindset, you're never going to be able to heal, because you have subconsciously trained that into your brain that there is no solution. That's just like you telling yourself right before you go into a test that you're going to fail the test and that you didn't study hard enough. And that you're going to panic. And then you go in there and you're having panic attacks. You have to take this 4-hour-long exam. And now you're sitting here in the middle of it. You're stressed. You've forgotten half of the answers that you knew when you were studying. And it's because you set yourself up and sitting there in the hallway telling yourself, I'm about to fail. It's about to be the hardest test ever. This is going to be awful. I didn't even study longer than an hour. I didn't sleep enough. You have literally subconsciously trained yourself to forget all the things that you learned by telling yourself you didn't know enough. Because when you go in with the confidence of saying, I can change and I will change, I just have to start setting myself up to change and getting that strategy, you actually will have the steps to the action plan. You will actually support yourself in getting in the space of reversing it. And if you are somebody who is sitting here dealing with all these issues of you're tired, you're fatigued, you're having gut-related issues, you're having a liver that's overloaded or kidney, you cannot balance your blood sugar. The problem is not you, but it's the system that you were under. And we have to get to the space of releasing the habits that you have been taught and getting into a new foundation of new habits. And a lot of people say, well, I'll do it. I'm going to start it. Don't think that you're going to start this tomorrow, next week, in a year from now, because you have to start taking action now. And how you start taking action now is making a plan. And not enough people can do that on their own, because I say this all the time. If you could have done it, you would have already been doing it. Diet culture does not support you. So how you start supporting yourself is getting in the space that is going to get you making more plant-based meals, eating more fruits and vegetables, and supporting the full system. Thank you for sharing the live. I really appreciate it. So I'm going to take questions before I have to hop off if you have any questions. If you are looking for a strategy and a full plan that walks you through a step-by-step, I have my Balanced Body program that is linked to my bio. You can get it with Klarna, Affirm, or Afterpay. I also have, that is linked in my bio, 2 different cookbooks that you can get. I have a beginner guide, and I also have an Eating Away Diabetes cookbook that is going to help anybody that's dealing with any type of insulin resistance, no matter if you've been diagnosed with diabetes or not. These are going to help you be able to start making plant-based meals and see how easy they are to incorporate them with your life. You said, I tell people all the time that there is no disease that enters the body that can't be evicted. Exactly. There is no disease that is inside the body that is a permanent disease, but unless you let it permanently stay. The problem is the actions and the habits that we have. That's the whole issue. So I have to take my dog to the vet. I know this is quicker than it usually is. How to combat inflammation. I'm a plant-based diet for 2 years. If you're having an issue with inflammation and you've been plant-based for 2 years, what are you eating? Because plant-based to everybody is not the same thing. I talk to people all the time and they just assume immediately because I'm plant-based, I eat vegan products. And then I go back and I'm like, well, I don't eat Beyond Meat. I don't eat Impossible Meat. I am somebody who is not raw vegan. I actually cook a lot of my foods. I don't cook all of my foods, but I do cook a lot of foods. Inflammation not only comes from food, it comes from products. So you could be using products that are inflammatory. Your colon specifically, that means that the gut specifically is not where it needs to be. So you have to look at that full system of, are you using stabilizers and balancers? And these are things that I help in the Balanced Body program, as well as with cycle syncing, anti-inflammatory help. We give you a step-by-step action plan to help you be able to get rid of all these different things. If you want to learn more, it is linked in my bio. Like I said, I do have to take my dog to the vet. So if you guys have any other questions, please come back. I will be back live on Sunday. I do rest for Saturday. Sunday, I'll be back live. I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your weekend, because I'm about to be late to her appointment. I got to go. It's right down the street, but still, I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your Friday. Bye, guys.